Every autumn, yes, plants shed their leaves as they prepare to rest for winter. The dead leaves are eaten by thousands of small creatures, fungi, bacteria, and invertebrates. These creatures break down the leaves to turn it into soil, so that next year's plants have lots of nutrients to grow their new set of leaves. Have you ever wondered about what happens when an animal dies in the forest? How about a really big animal, like a guacan, deer? To understand what happens to a deer in its death, let's first start with how the deer came to be alive in the first place. All life on Earth begins with the sun, Gagan. The sunlight that reaches down to us on Earth is one of the ingredients for the plants to grow. Now imagine you are a fluffy seed of a shush fireweed plant. You've drifted along in the cool autumn breeze and landed in a damp meadow in a small patch of soil. As you rest in the meadow, a large flat hoof squishes you down into the mud, just the right depth to make you feel nice and cozy. You end up falling asleep there for all of winter. Talk. It's dark and cold, so you're quite happy in your cozy little nook of mud. As winter turns into spring, talk iti, you start to wriggle about in your muddy home, and you feel the soil around you start to get warmer. So warm that you're inspired to poke your little head up to see if the sun is shining. Ashadi, it sprouts. As you start to poke your sprouting head just out of the ground, you can feel the sun's warmth and energy, and it makes you want to grow tall. So you spend much of the spring, takuiti, and summer, kutan, turning sunlight, water, air, and nutrients that your roots gather from the soil into the tallest, most magnificent body of a shlush plant as you can find. And you are indeed a sight to behold. Long, slender green leaves, pink flower buds that open from bottom to top as the summer progresses. One day, as you're continuing your work to turn sunlight, water, air, and soil into leaves, pollen, nectar, and those beautiful pink flowers, you recognize a sound. It's caused by a large, flat hoof pressing into the mud around you. Not only one, but 4 of these hooves. You also hear a soft munching sound. And before you know it, the sun disappears, and you're now in a warm, wet, dark place, getting tossed about wildly. And that munching sound is now a very loud grinding sound, as all the hard work of leaf and flower making gets torn apart by the teeth of a guacan, Sitka black-tailed deer. As you are swallowed by the deer, you no longer feel like that beautiful fireweed plant, because you're not. You are now part of the deer. When you arrive in the deer's stomach, the stomach digests you enough so that you are now the deer itself. Can you see the field of shush food around you? Can you taste the sweetness of those pink flowers? You continue to eat shush fireweed, kuani, deer cabbage, chaak, willows, and other plants all throughout the summer and into the fall. As the snow comes, food becomes harder and harder to find. This winter, there is so much snow, even digging underneath it for the plants that stay green through winter are hard to find. You do a pretty good job through winter keeping your stomach full, but this year it feels like spring will never arrive. You start to feel hungrier and hungrier as you try to find food, and your body is working so hard to keep you warm. One day, in March, your body gives up, and you lay down to die. A day or 2 goes by, and nothing really changes. Your body lays there in the snow that's slowly melting all around you. Then, quite suddenly, you hear the gurgling croak of a yesh raven. As the beak of yesh tears into the hide of the deer, you become part of the raven itself. Next, there's a loud sniffing sound. Sniffling and snuffling of a very large animal. You also hear digging of moss, and you can feel the warmth of the moss that gets pushed up and over your dead body. Then you feel a very heavy weight. A Sikh, black bear, has found you and plans to eat the meat from your carcass. bear's sharp incisor teeth dig in, and much like when the deer ate you as fireweed, you are now becoming part of the black bear. The bear feeds on you for many days, even sleeps on the deer. Part of you walks away inside that siik. But there's still more of you as the deer carcass. Cha'ak, eagles, small birds, small rodents like voles, all come to visit and eat parts of the deer. A little part of you becomes some of all of these creatures. Part of you soars in the sky as a yesh. Another part of you burrows into the ground as a vole. There is still some part of you as the deer, though, and you start to notice that most of the large animals have had their fill, and now only the insects and invertebrates, bacteria, and even fungus are growing on what's left of the deer carcass. There are now parts of you that live in the bodies of these bacteria, the fungi, and the invertebrates. After several months, there is little left but the bones of the deer skeleton, and in time even that will be broken down into smaller bits. It may take many years, but eventually those bones will become part of the forest itself. The part of you that stays in that same location becomes part of the soil. A year or two later, a small seed lands right where the guacan had once laid down to die. Spring, Taku'iti, came again, warmed up the soil. The seed, with the help of the sun, water, air, and the nutrients of the soil, sprouted and became a beautiful skunk cabbage. X'al, poking its head up out of the cold ground. And one spring day, that familiar sound of 4 flat hooves approached you. You felt that bite of those powerful teeth once more, and the dark, wet feel of the inside of the deer's mouth, and the cycle began all over again.